2-ranked amateur in the world. Match number 3, one of 2 Aussies to make it to the quarters. 22-year-old Brady Watt taking on Scheffler, who's trying to make history. And after that ace at the 7th hole, that gave him a 1-up lead, and he has kept that 1-up lead now through 9 holes. And in match number 4, it's 19-year-old Oliver Goss from Australia, sophomore at Tennessee, taking on Temple's Brandon Matthews. And it is Goss who has himself a 2-up lead through 8 of that one. And the young 17-year-old for birdie to win the hole on Brady Watt.
Putt with a lot of speed and a lot of movement to the left.
And man, he read it perfectly. Line and speed perfectly matched, and Scheffler now with a 2-up lead. That is his biggest lead of the match.
Ever won the 4A state title 3 times, Jordan Spieth. The young man and Scotty Scheffler drawing a lot of comparisons.
A miss there by Scheffler. And so Watt is going to have a chance to cut into the lead. Boy, and Scheffler has been living on the edge in this match play, hasn't he?
Well, look at him kind of. His sister Callie has been helping him read the greens. He's kind of looking at her like, what kind of read was that? Careful now.
Yeah.
Big sister won't like that.
So here is Watt, 22-year-old from Perth, currently ranked number 9 in the world amateur rankings, and first came to the States on June 28th. So a newcomer here to the U.S., Steve, and has kind of been getting his feet wet in the American golf scene.
He has just under 2 months. He's been in the U.S. First ever trip, first USGA championship. Really had a great summer in Australia. Knows how to win, but someone that's been a late bloomer for Golf Australia. Made the national squad in November of 2012 and really coming over to States to get some international competition.
All right, this to cut into the Scheffler lead. He does just that. So Scheffler now just 1 up through 11. Australia with 2 representatives in these quarterfinals at the Country Club, hosting its 6th U.S. Amateur Championship for 10th, where Oliver Goss has this par putt to win the hole and increase his lead on Brandon Matthews to 3 up. 19 years old, going to be a sophomore at Tennessee, quarterfinalist last year at Cherry Hills, and he's got some pretty good credentials there, Steve. Western Australia amateur champion last year as well.
He did have a great run in Australia, and maybe more importantly, started in the spring semester at Tennessee, played 8 events, 7 top 25s, ended up being a 3rd-team All-America selection, so quickly making a name for himself here in the U.S.
And quickly taking a 3-up lead through 10. Brandon Matthews. This was just earlier at the par 5 12th, the 4th for Scheffler, who's got the 1-up lead over Brady Watt.
Nice position, just short of the green, so putting up the hill, a little bit of turn from the right. Nicely done.
So a par for Scheffler there. So now Watt's 4th. From the rough.
Yeah, very delicate here. Has to land this right on the downslope. And you know what? It didn't look very pretty, but it wasn't that bad, because if he carries that ball another 3 or 4 feet, it probably races 8 or 10 feet by. At least he's left it below the hole with an uphill putt.
And back over to the par 5 12th. And this is for par for Watt to have the hole with Scheffler. Just like that, Scheffler has a 2-up lead again.
Mr. Watt 6, Mr. Scheffler 5.
6 holes left as the 17-year-old junior amateur champion keeps his bid for history alive.
The hill should go a little to his left. Did he hit it firmly enough? Oh, man.
The Aussie Oliver Goss has been in control from the get-go. We talked about the world amateur rankings, and Fitzpatrick the highest here left. Brady Watt, who's also still alive at 9th. Oliver Goss at 13, and the rest of the quarter finalists all the way down there with Adam Ball, 776. The tee at the 411-yard par 4 13th. Scheffler with a 2-up lead.
Yeah, it's a layup off the tee. You really don't want to go more than about 270 yards. Ball in the fairway, but that is missed left and into the trees. It just kicks out, so he may have gotten a heck of a break there.
All right, opening for Watt.
Watched him warm up this morning, Dan. He's got some sort of driving iron in his bag that he flights low and hits it hard, and it goes. And will that get a bounce? No. Oh.
The ball looked like it disappeared when we saw it, but it's kind of see it there as he gouges it out.
Yeah. Well, just make sure, if anything, you come up a little short. That's going to carry all the way to the hole, and now that ball releases all the way to the back of the green. Remember, that's where we saw Raymond putt the ball off the front of the green, so that's an indication of how fast that putt will be.
It's a 13, back to the par 4 where Watt is away, and 2 down to Scheffler. Roger?
On the green and away, and as Gary mentioned, he's got this putt from behind the hole, and again, it's downhill all the way and moving to his left, but the last 12 feet or so before the hole, it really starts to run away more steeply, so tough putt to get close.
Brady Watt, 22 years old. You see the occupation, professional cleaner. We've asked him about it this week, and that's what he does along with playing golf. He cleans office buildings, and he doesn't, he's not some marketing executive there. He actually gets his hands dirty and does the job, right, Steve?
He does. He told me this morning he has done it all. He has the night shift Monday through Friday. He said there's a 53-story building back at Perth that the company he works for is responsible. So
that's a lot of cleaning, 53 stories.
Yes, it is.
And again, came to the United States for the first time June 28th.
Let's see if he can figure out the pace a little better than Raymond did. I think he's done a pretty good job.
Very good effort, I believe, from there, Gary. Very good effort.
Easy to race that by if you get just a little too frisky. So Watt with a chance to save his par, and
back to you guys.
Thank you, Noda. Fitzpatrick, low amateur at the British Open, trying to continue his great summer, and so is Scheffler over at 13 for par.
And a lot of speed, big swing to the right. Just a little defensive. So a little surprised here at some of his body language, and he's getting a little antsy, a little frustrated. He said that was one of the things he thought that he had improved dramatically was his attitude, that he was staying calm, he wasn't getting frustrated. He said when he was younger, which how young can he be, that used to be an issue. Well, we've seen a couple of examples of this in the last couple of holes. I'd like to see him, he's still very much in control in this match. Just because you hit 1 or 2 shots less than the way you like to, you got to stay in there.
Yeah, that's what his dad had said, that he had really seen a lot of maturing just in the last month or so, leading up to that junior amateur title and following it, but he's not really happy with himself right now, and Watt has a chance to be 1 down here with this winning par putt. So the Aussie battling back on the young American. 1 down to Scotty Scheffler in the 3rd of the 4th. Sophomore at VCU. Australia's Brady Watt finds himself 1 down to Scheffler. Cut into the lead with a par putt at the 13th. And in the quarterfinal match number 4, it is Oliver Goss with a 3-up commanding lead over Brandon Matthews of Temple. They're through 11 there. As we go out to the par 5 12th, this was just earlier Brandon Matthews for birdie, and that 3-down deficit to Goss.
Pretty good swing from the right. Boy, that just never hit firmly enough. It's 2 putts in a row. Now he's left short. When you're 3 down, you really can't afford to do that.
So Goss for birdie to take a 4-up lead. Well, easy. Whoa is right. So a little left there. So Goss for his par to keep his 3-up lead. Matthews has won just 1 hole. And And it'll stay with just one winning hole for Brandon Matthews, trying to forge a comeback against the Aussie. U.S. Amateur Championship quarterfinal Friday continues. This kind of fuels his process.
Well, exactly. But, and I sound like I'm being a little harsh. I understand he is only 17 years of age, and I can remember when I was 17, I get pretty frustrated too. So
I think it's called junior golfer.
There you go, Raj. Good description. It came out left.
Low and left. And that will be between the two bunkers on the hillside, short of the green left, in that thick rough.
Any other of the players remaining in this field. He's a tall guy, has a very upright swing, which matches his physique. But he launches that thing way up in the air, and he can get it to land fairly softly. It'll be interesting to see if he can land it softly enough here.
That upright swing will help him on this. Yeah, it just didn't take off enough. It to his left, and well short.
So both Watt and Scheffler battling the long par 4 14th. Back a hole to 13, and this was just earlier from Goss with some tree problems. He's up on Matthews.
This is not good. I mean, he's aiming this ball dead into the trees on the right-hand side, trying to hit a sweeping hook.
Finding more trees on the other side.
Yeah, it actually got a very nice bounce off the tree and into the bunker. I mean, it's going to leave a tough bunker shot, but it could have been a whole lot worse if it had hit the tree and gone the other way.
Brandon Matthews now from 166.
Nice swing there. Nice rhythm. Allow the ball to land short a little bit and chase up onto the green. That's a very well played shot.
Good crowd out here. The weather has been absolutely idyllic. I mean, for the middle of August in the Northeast, where it can be a little hot and humid, it has been absolutely perfect. Temperatures in the mid-70s, no humidity.
This from a good lie in the rough, just about 60 yards. You didn't want it back there.
No, carried it up all the way hole high, and now has a very fast downhill putt.
Over 13, we saw Goss fly a second of the bunker, so his third. Matthews putting for birdie coming up.
Has a chance here. Pretty good lie on the upslope. And he carries that just a little too far. I'm sure he's not overly pleased with that.
So Brandon Matthews will be looking for just his second winning hole of the day. As we go back over to Brady Watt at 14, Raj.
And drew a much better lie than I thought he might. The ball came to rest about a yard short of a very thick patch of rough, but this one about as good a lie as I think he could hope for. Again, pitching uphill, the ball should move a little to his right once it gets on the green, but in a perfect world, Gary, you want this one short of the hole.
Look at the card, the back and forth they went on the opening 9, and much the same here on the second 9.
This too killed to the back left.
And it's going to hang up there. Oh my goodness, is that going to be fast?
Over at 13, Matthews for birdie to win the hole, Nota.
This is the same putt we saw run out earlier today, and there it goes.
Be cautious, be cautious. He was not.
Next day.
Okay, Goss away for his par. And man, does that put the pressure on Matthews.
Yeah, this is what can happen in match play. It looked like Matthews was in control of the hole when Goss hit his bunker shot long, and now all of a sudden has to make this or he loses another hole.
It's so frustrating, Gary. Ollie Goss was in the trees left and had nothing and managed to get that ball in that bunker and now has a good chance to win this hole.
Stroke.
And that's a clutch putt by Matthews. So they have it with some scrambling pars, and Goss retains his 3-up lead. Back back at the par 4 14th. And this is a fast one.
A big-time defensive putt here downhill, down a ramp actually, and moving to the right.
All you can do is just try to ease it down there, and you have to hit it that easily, Roger. Now you're really at the mercy of the slope and everything else. I mean, this is one where I think you have to be a little bit careful. You don't want your youthful exuberance to take over, try to ram this thing in and win the hole, and have it run 4 or 5 feet by.
About him coming over about 6-7 weeks ago, playing a full amateur schedule. 3rd at the Porter Cup, 10th at the Southern, 10th at the Sahalee, 13th at the Players Am, missed the cut at the Western. But again, Brad James, the high performance director of Golf Australia, said one of the big things they are lacking are that the events, the schedule to really take these guys to the next level. So a big reason why they come over early.
Yeah, well, it's a great opportunity for these young men to have the resources of the country behind them to bring them over here and be able to play that kind of schedule.
So Watt makes his. Now Scheffler for his make to keep his 1-up lead. The third half of the match between Brady Watt and Scotty Scheffler. Back and forth they go. Scheffler keeps his 1-up lead through 14 as they exchange bogeys there. Goss 3-up through 13 on Brandon Matthews. Off the tee, Brady Watt.
One of 5 new tees here since we were here in '99, Dan, at the Country Club. Now makes this a blind tee shot. Adds some 50 yards or so in length to this par 4.
And quite a few of those blind looks here at the Country Club. And this was what Noda was talking about. Oliver Goss from the rough as well at 14.
And that choice was a lot easier. That was the best he could have done. That thing was way deep down in there.
So at least Goss is in the fairway, but Matthews has big problems. And he's 3 down. Also earlier at the 15th, this was Scheffler's tee shot at the par 4.
Big, high, full swing that Scheffler uses with virtually every shot. And boy, that produced a really nice one. That is long down the left center.
The 3rd for Goss after chopping out of the rough.
Really like this young man's golf swing. Very much under control, on plane. But that one, that's a mistake. That ball could come back off the green and all the way back down the hill. That is the one thing you do not want to do in that situation with your opponent over in serious trouble.
Remember we were going around the golf course earlier in the week, Gary. This is one of those that you pointed to.
Well, and you know, every ball's going to end up in the same spot, and very lucky not to end up in an old divot.
Well, Matthews has got some problems, Noda. What about his situation?
Well, Matthews doesn't hardly have any options. I don't think he has much of a swing. But to Gary's point earlier, that would have been a perfect instance for Oliver Goss to come over and watch and look what Matthews was dealing with, because I think it would have changed the strategy on his shot. He didn't need to hit anything with any spin, just get it on the green, because he knows that his playing competitor is probably not going to make anything better than 5.
And pick up Scheffler just short of the green for birdie.
Putt from down the hill.
Back to Matthews.
This is an extremely dangerous shot here.
Stayed in the rough. So even though Oliver Goss rolled all the way back down the hill at 3, Matthews, another look at where this might have ended up.
The danger is, Dan, when you're having to hit it so low, a low ball, when it catches in that 4 or 5 inch rough, it's not going to go anywhere. In fact, they're having a hard time finding it.
Back over to 15 for Watt.
And this really a very similar putt that we saw Neil Raymond have out in match 1. And I thought it would go a little left. It still looks like it should go a shade left, but Raymond's didn't.
So Brady Watt has squared the matchup with 3 holes left. So it looks like Scheffler's going to be in another dramatic one down to the end, as Brady Watt, who had to watch Scheffler make an ace earlier in this quarterfinal match at the 7th hole, buries one in his own right to square that match up. But another one of its names on the trophy. And Matthews just earlier still dealing from the rough at 14 with his 4th.
Man, was that thick.
With a helicopter finish out of the rough, so he's finally maybe on the green.
It's
that's going to
pick up speed, Dan. There's a little false front there.
It's going to go back into near Oliver Goss land back there, but he's going to be line 4. So rolled all the way down. So there they are, side by side. 4th for Goss. It'll be the 5th upcoming for Matthews.
Well, it's okay, but it's up above the hole. Gonna leave a quick putt. Up considerably.
So here we go over at 16 in the all-square match. Watt taking aim with an 8-iron.
170 yards today, a hole just right of center in the green, but hidden behind the bunker in front. Very little wind at the moment. This ball starting a little left of the hole and holding its line toward the center of the green.
There's a nice slope there that he can utilize. Doesn't quite get it far enough left to utilize the slope. It's still a good shot.
5th shot, Matthews. Wow, where did that go?
Any better. Played it straight over the green into some of the heaviest rough out here.
Scheffler second at the par 4 17th, all square with Brady Watt.
81 yards to the hole from the intermediate cut, and although this grass short, it's kind of a cuppy lie, Gary. It's just sitting down a little bit, which I think is going to make it a little more problematic to get it to spin much. So I would expect this one to land short of the green and try to keep it somewhere near the front edge underneath the hole.
Front left hole location, just 4 paces on the green. Well, he carries it all the way to the hole. Will it catch the slope and ease back? No, stays just short of that.
I think he carried that a little further than he wanted to. Watt now 72 yards and a heavy lie. The grass very long, although somewhat matted, but I don't believe from this angle he can play directly at the hole. He's got to play right of the hole, between the fringe and the right of the hole, and see if he can get the distance right that way. Again, I don't think he can spin this ball at all.
Yeah, there's a slope from the right side of the green that he could utilize if he can be that precise.
This is going to land short. We'll see how far it chases. It doesn't. It lands softly, but still, that's not all that bad underneath here.
And back over at 15, third for Matthews, who's desperately trying to hang on here, has to win this hole.
Actually fairly well done out of some very gnarly grass.
So all Oliver Goss needs is 2 putts to win the match.
Wonderful flow to this man's putting stroke. Doesn't take too much time. Couple of practice strokes, a quick look, and then let it go.
Why not drop that in for style points? 5-3 victory for Oliver Goss over Brandon Matthews. So we've got our third semifinalists in. And some good sportsmanship there by Brandon Matthews, who had a rough go of it on a few holes today, which ultimately ended up ousting him from this championship, but still congratulating Oliver Goss on moving through to the semis 5-3. Back over at 17, Brady Watt taking a good look at this.
While he left it short of the green, Gary, he is going back uphill to it, and the grass cut very short. I don't think that.
Just to be clear with Goss, he was born in England, but he resides in Perth, Australia, so he is a citizen of Australia. Watt, of course, born in Western Australia.
Swing to the right, just about there. Good effort.
Let's send it down to Noda with the latest semifinalist.
Hey, Oliver Goss, great playing. You and I keep meeting like this after you win matches. Way to finish off that match right there. Great birdie putt. What's your focus when you're trying to close out these matches?
Especially with 2 putts to win. You definitely just want a 2-putt, but there's always a bonus if you hole it. And I knew if I tried to hole it, the closer I'll hit it, so I just tried to hit the best putt I could, and fortunately it dropped in the side edge.
Well, you're doing a great job. Play well tomorrow.
Thanks a lot.
Back to you guys.
All right, so one more semifinalist to discover here. Scheffler is next for birdie to win the hole, but he's got to be careful with this, Raj.
He does. This is one, if you get a little frisky with, you can get 4 feet or so past the hole without blinking an eye. So have to be a little bit defensive. Again, this front part of the green, there's a bit of a trough in here, Gary. And it depends just which side of that trough you are as to how the ball may move on the way down. A little overly careful.
His car safely in. Watt's attempt coming up to keep it all square to 18.
Gary, these are are short, but they're not easy at this stage of the day.
No, they are not, Raj. This is why you spend all that time practicing. Now you're in that situation. You just have to trust that you've trained yourself properly and let it go.
Well, Scheffler won the 18th hole yesterday late in the afternoon to advance to this quarterfinal Friday. All square with Brady Watt, the lone quarterfinal match to be decided at the U.S. Amateur.